Hello, welcome to Confronting the Darkness. I'm Rob Jacobs.
And I'm Father Bob Bailey.
Tonight, since it's October, it's middle October, we were going to talk a little bit about Halloween. And we thought it was important talking about Halloween to explain a little bit on how it originated and different traditions that kind of go along with it.
I'm in a new parish now, as you know.
That's right.
So my staff got the treat to probably the first or the only Catholic rectory in Rhode Island that's filled with Halloween decorations. I have a Halloween village. We have things going off, boo, witches, and all of that. So we're having a good time, but very unique rectory situation. And they know this is my special day next to first Christmas, always Christmas.
Yep.
Next to that is Halloween.
Yeah, for me too. Christmas and then Halloween. I notice you have a new cross, a big cross.
Yeah. No, I was not elevated to bishop. As many of you know or might know, I was away in Rome for sabbatical studies, and it just happened to coincide with Pope Benedict resigning and the new Holy Father. So I was there from the very beginning. I was there when the new Pope was elected. I was in the square that rainy night. And since the first time he came out to now, I've really fallen in love with our new Pope Francis and his spirit.
I think a lot of people have.
Yeah, they really have. There's also been a lot of backlash of people misunderstanding what he's saying and thinking he's going to turn the church upside down, which I think he is, but in a good way.
In a good way.
So to show my allegiance, this is actually a replica of Pope Francis's cross. This is the same one that he took when he was Archbishop in Buenos Aires. He refused, when he became Pope, he refused the red slippers, he refused the gold cross, and just had his pewter, hammered pewter, which has the Good Shepherd on it, with the little sheep in the background, and also the cape. And so it just reminds me of Pope Francis's call that we become good shepherds. So I wear that.
Beautiful cross.
I wear that in support of him. My bling is a little bit more
I have my
now.
Benedictine cross, crucifix, so I'm happy and content, but that's a beautiful one.
Yeah, so it's good. Last year we did something about Halloween around this time, so this is our second annual Halloween special.
Right.
So as you can see, the decorations here to add to the ambiance of it.
Unfortunately, we've not been able to do a few shows with your moving and some health issues, but we're back hopefully to stay, and we'll have shows to continue. But it's nice to start off with something that's kind of fun, and then we'll get to the nitty-gritty after this.
Sure. The first thing I'd like to talk about is the origin of Halloween. There's so much fun things that we could talk about this holiday, and really what it is. And I know many of you probably already know in the audience, but it's good for us just to be reminded. Halloween actually is a morphing of two pagan holidays and a Christian holiday.
Right.
One is a Roman holiday. Another one is a Celtic holiday. And we'll go over those first. The first one that many people may not realize is the Roman feast in honor of Pomona. And the festival that surrounds it is Parentalia. And Parentalia is the apple harvest. Actually, Pomona is the apple harvest, celebrates that, while Parentalia is honored and placated when they honor their deceased relatives, paying tribute to them and honoring them for that. That's the Roman holiday, pagan holiday. And then we have the Celtic, which is very well known, of Samhain. And that one is obviously it's the end of the harvest. And the end of the lighter part of the year as we get in now to the darker part of the year. And so these are among the prehistoric observances that the primitive people marked the end of summer and the onset of winter, darkness and light. And so many of the things that we celebrate now or use now were marked way back then, like bonfires, feasting, homage to the dead, even sacrificial offerings, although we don't do that anymore, thank God.
Hopefully not.
And so and then the Christian feast of All Saints' Day. So it's a very uniquely American holiday for us because of the mixing of those cultures. And when the people came over here, they came over with with what came from their own countries, particularly
Right.
the Irish, the Celtic, and all of that. And so it's a wonderful morphing to make a truly unique holiday. What does Halloween mean? Halloween comes from the Old English word meaning All Hallows Eve. Hallow meaning holy. When we say, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Holy be your name. So the celebrating of all holy, the holy ones, the saints. Okay, so it's the evening before All Hallows. And that's where we get the name Halloween.
Right.
And that, it comes from about the 1500s, I would say, where All Hallows Eve was a more common,
Right.
or the Feast of All Hallows. Actually, it would be All Hallows Even, really, I think, in that, in the ancient English. And so the Catholic Church at that time also had a day, again, to celebrate, a feast to celebrate the dead. One is All Saints' Day, which celebrates
Right.
all those who have gone before us and are now in heaven, the saints in heaven. And because there's such a multitude of saints, there's many that we know, we all, as Catholics, we have our favorite saints, St. Teresa, St. Anthony, St. Jude, St. Francis of Assisi.
St. Francis.
But this is for all of the saints, for the many saints that never got to be up on the honor roll officially. So they have this feast to honor all of them. And then some of them are including our grandparents and our ancestors who are very holy people.
Right.
So again, it's wonderful. Then the day after Halloween is what we Catholics call All Souls Day. And All Souls Day is again, where we pray for the souls who are on their journey towards God. Souls in a place of what we call purgatory, that they can't pray for themselves, but we can pray for them.
Right.
And so it reminds us that there's a family spirit there of those of us here on earth, which is a church militant, and then there's those that are on the journey to God, and those are the souls that we pray for, and then those who are with God, the church triumphant, which is the saints. So that's just to give you a little history, a little background.
Well, it's important. I mean, we think of Halloween as, all right, well, the trick-or-treating and
Right.
the costumes and the parties and this and that, but how it originated is very interesting.
Very.
And how, as it's said in here, how it's morphed from the original traditions to today. It is. It's very interesting. And even costumes, I think that's another topic that was on there.
Oh, yeah.
How it was brought to North America by immigrants
Yep.
from Europe. Then they celebrate around the harvest with bonfires, ghost stories, and I think a lot of that still goes on. I mean, especially with Halloween, who doesn't, have the Halloween stories on Halloween night?
Yeah.
And
Now, what do we do on Halloween? Now,
Yeah, well.
we started a tradition where
Yeah.
I go over his house. Of course, they're giving out candy, and I don't. But I go over there, and what do we watch?
horror movies.
Horror movies.
Yeah.
So it's a great and we eat. So it's a great tradition, tradition for adults as well as kids.
It is, and I think it's turned into more of an adult holiday now than before.
Yes.
I mean, it's always been a kiddies holiday, but even when you go into the stores, it's so set for adults.
Yeah.
It's
Maybe a little too much. I think my critique is, well, it's fun because we can still celebrate as adults. It's lost its family and its childlike.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that children of today will never know when we were kids. It was much more safe time.
Safe.
It was a safer time. And just going out, and everybody was dressed up on the streets. You saw all your neighbors, and
It was a fun night.
Great night. It was, and you got bags after bags of candy.
The good stuff.
Yeah, the good stuff. My dad used to go to the local potato chip place to get bags of potato chips. And back then, the older people could make like little muffins and stuff when it was safe to do that.
I remember
before
that.
they started doing all of that.
Even now, I couldn't imagine allowing, my kids are teens, so it really doesn't matter for them, but when they were younger, and say 10 years ago, then I don't think I would have allowed them out by themselves then, but in the 70s when we went around,
Yeah.
It was a blast. And
Right. There was always an adult, but you could go. We traveled in groups.
Yeah, exactly.
We traveled in groups, and there was always an adult chaperone. And then, of course, we were supposed to bring all our candy home.
And have it checked.
Yeah, and my mother would, parcel it out, so that the pockets got filled a little before, before they got to mom. And
you know what else has changed is the price of the candy.
Oh my gosh!
God.
They were saying it's up 10%.
It's up there. Yeah. I know. We used to have an area where we had a lot of kids that came, and we'd spend $40 or $50 in candy.
Oh yeah.
Now, I talked to a guy today. His parents spent over $100 in candy for Halloween night because they get that many kids, and he said inside of an hour and a half, it's gone.
Right.
It's insanity. I mean,
yeah.
it's a little too much.
And that's why I think like these things that they have, like these jack-o'-lantern, like Roger Williams Park in Rhode Island has a jack-o'-lantern spectacular. And they have other little things like that, and that's so great because it's going to be recaptured also as a child's, because it was a child's holiday, and we've lost that.
Yeah.
It's become too much macabre adult and not enough for children. It's too bad. But maybe you can talk about a little bit of the customs that.
Like I said, some of the customs, especially now, the ghost stories. We talked about that. People will get together and, like we do, watch horror movies, parties. They'll sing, dance, dress up. It's a nice time, especially if you're doing it safely and together and being just smart about what you're doing. You're not getting intoxicated and acting the fool that night.
And some of the things too that we do that I never understood, like they don't do it now for health issues, but we used to do bobbing for apples.
Right.
Boy, was I frustrated with that because we were so.
I could never get them, but
they think that originated from an ancient Roman harvest festival. Again,
Pomona.
But it was also seen in some areas as almost a divination kind of thing too. And the reason why that we got dressed up, or people got dressed up, not we didn't live then, but back then was because they believed that was the night that all the spirits came out. Right. So people would dress in masks so that the spirits would think that they were spirits. Exactly. And they wouldn't see them as humans. So again, superstition, but again, that's how it began to morph into costumes that we have today.
Trying to blend in with the spirits and the ghosts. We just watched a movie. What was it? Hocus Pocus, where they tricked the witches thinking they were goblins.
Yep. And a couple of other things that were around, like around the Middle Ages, would be what they call souling. And souling is what they used to do, the poor people especially. They would go door to door offering prayers for the dead in exchange for treats, okay? And they would even sing. They would even go and sing like Christmas carols to the richer people's houses. So again, going from house to house, and they would get these things called soul cakes, which we'll go in a moment. And then mumming. Now, I've heard of the mummers, but
so I've never heard of mumming.
Yeah, well, it's a custom, especially during Christmas, but about parading around in costumes, chanting rhymes, play acting. But that became a later addition to the celebration of Halloween.
Yeah.
So, it's neat. There's just so much to talk about.
I think I would have liked to see the souling. You know, I mean, that would add something to the whole experience. You know,
Yeah.
I know I don't think it happens, at least not
No.
around here, but it'd be
I don't know
interesting
if
to
it
see.
happens in Ireland, but
And there's also the symbols of Halloween and the superstitions, like orange and black obviously are Halloween colors. Orange because it's associated with the fall harvest, and black obviously because it's associated with death and darkness. And then you touched on the jack-o'-lanterns, and I think those were also made too to try and keep spirits away. I mean, now we do it because, you know, the kids enjoy it, and a lot of times with the jack-o'-lanterns, we'll actually gut them and we'll.
But it's interesting that in Ireland, there were actually turnips to begin with.
That's right.
Before the custom of pumpkins.
And they had the gourds too. I think they used squash, and there were different
could
colored
have.
pumpkins. I think there were blue ones
Yes,
and
different. Yeah.
yellow,
yeah.
maybe. I know they had
And
different
white.
ones, which would be kind of cool. I've never seen a blue pumpkin, but I think that'd be pretty wild. To
No, I've seen the fake ones, the plastic
Yeah.
ones. But, you know.
Or green. That was another color, green.
Green,
So
yeah.
you do a nice Frankenstein jack-o'-lantern or
Yeah.
something. And then of course symbols of Halloween, the black cats, which I think were supposed to. They were familiars for the witches, and they would protect them, or something about their witches' powers. And it was supposed to be bad luck, obviously, if you cross paths with a black cat. It's just like when you know, you see one running across the road.
Yeah, if the black cat was around, that meant that there was a witch nearby.
Oh,
you know.
that's right.
And if a black cat meows on your porch or near your window, that means that a death will occur in the family. That's part of the superstition.
And if you were to hurt one on Halloween, you'd have 7 years bad luck. There's a lot of it that goes with it. And then there's also white cats. And white cats are supposedly a sign of bad luck.
No, not white.
Yeah.
No.
In Britain.
In
In
Brit-
Britain.
Oh, no, white cat's a symbol. Oh, yeah, it is bad luck. I'm thinking of good luck. No. In
It
Britain.
may mean evil spirits are lurking close
That's right,
by. So it's
the white
similar to the
ones.
black. I guess, you know, we all have our.
Colors. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And bats, of course. Bats are another Halloween symbol. And supposedly if you see bats flying around your house on Halloween, inside or out, it's also a sign that ghosts or spirits in the air, which...
It reminds me when my classmate and I were in the rectory that I was living in, and there was a bat in there, and let me tell you, it was flying around. We're trying to get it with brooms, and at one point I'm yelling at my classmate, Bill, the bat's coming after you. And he's screaming, running down the hall with the bat. It just reminded me, it's like, oof. So
That's
yeah,
funny. I remember that.
they're not fun just on a natural basis. Never mind superstition.
No. And then spiders, and I hate spiders. I just hate them. But supposedly the European superstition is if you're seeing spiders on Halloween or lurking in your room, in your house or on Halloween night, that it means the spirit of a deceased one, a loved one, is present, which is kind of eerie, but it's kind of nice in the same way. It'd be interesting to, you know, hopefully it'd be somebody that's in the family that's just keeping an eye on us.
Now, we talk about souling, and actually, when I was on the internet, they actually have one of the songs. Again, in the 20th centuries, children would go souling, and then, again, it's kind of like Christmas caroling, requesting alms, you know, or these soul cakes, which I'll get into in a second. But here's one of the tunes that they would sing. I'll spare you the tune because I don't know it, but I'll give you the lyrics. It's a soul, a soul, a soul cake. Please, good missus, a soul cake. An apple, a pear, a plum, or a cherry. Any good thing to make us merry. Up with your kettles and down with your pans. Give us an answer and we'll be gone. Little Jack sat on his gate, crying for butter to butter his cake. 1 for St. Peter, 2 for St. Paul, 3 for the man who made us all. And so they would go around the houses again singing and hopefully they would get a soul cake. Now, a soul cake is it's kind of like a hot cross bun, except with the not with the icing, the white icing of the cross on top. Especially us who are Catholics remember that on the Ash Wednesday and Good Friday, it was considered a bun, not a sweet, even though it kind of was sweet, it had raisins in it. But a soul cake is sort of like a hot crust bun without the crust on top or the currants. But here's a great recipe for a soul cake. And its ingredients are, what you would need for a soul cake is 6 ounces of softened butter, 6 ounces of castor sugar. I'm not sure what that is.
I don't know what that is.
3 egg yolks, a pound of plain flour, a pinch of salt, a teaspoon of ground mixed spice or ground allspice, and warm milk. You put it in the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, 180 degrees Celsius, and you bake in the oven for about 20-25 minutes. So again, what they tell you to do is they tell you to cream the butter and sugar together in a bowl until it gets fluffy. Then beat in the egg yolks, sift flour and spices, add the mix to stiff dough, knead thoroughly and roll out 1/4 inch thick, cut into 3-inch rounds and set on a greased baking sheets. Prick cakes with the fork and bake. Sprinkle lightly with powdered sugar while they're still warm.
Yeah, maybe that's a good idea to do for this Halloween. See, I've never had soul cakes. Have you?
No, well, next year I thought of a good fundraiser for the parish to do a fall theme and to have some of these old recipes just for the novelty. I think people will buy it. But you have one too.
Right, there's another one. It's called a Halloween Cake Magic. And what you do is you bake a cake, and it's any kind of cake that you like. But inside the cake, they want you to put a ring, a thimble, a China doll, and I'm assuming it's going to be a very small China doll. Apparently, it's a rather big cake, and a coin. So once you bake it and you cut into it, if your slice contains the ring, you will marry within a year. If it contains the thimble, you will never marry. That might be good for some of us.
You'll be a spinster.
If you get the doll, you will have many children. And the coin, you will be wealthy. I think I would like that piece myself. I could use the coin.
So there's a lot of fun. There's other stuff on the internet too about that. If we could revive that, it'd be kind of cute. A cool way of reaching back in the past and celebrating some of these ancient things. Then there's also Mischief Night. And Mischief Night it comes later than Halloween. It's the 4th of December in some parts of the world. And this was the night when all sorts of naughty things were done, kind of pranks.
Right.
But very harmless ones. Like they might take a gate out, the door of a gate and hide it somewhere or put it somewhere in a tree. There were funny little pranks like that called Mischief Night. And God knows that I would have been in heaven when I was a kid, especially the one who used to like to ring doorbells and run away.
See, when we used to do the trick-or-treating, you obviously go to the door, ring the bell, trick-or-treat.
Yeah.
We always get a treat. Now, I never had anything planned as a trick.
No, you didn't. The kids just said it,
But, I mean, what would you do, really? I mean, I know there's some real,
No,
troublemakers out there, but I never
it was
really
never thought. You just said trick or treat, but it never entered into the mind to do the tricks.
I remember the only thing we ever worried about really was, and it was a myth obviously, but the candy apple. Never bite into the candy apple. Back then they actually gave them out. Now you'd never see it, but there was a myth that somebody would put a razor blade in it.
Well, no, they did put razor blades in apples.
Well, I know
When I
it
was
had
younger.
happened, but there was like everybody was afraid that it would happen. Whoever was
Well,
giving them out, and I wouldn't have eaten it anyway. But I wanted to stick with the candy.
Lady, yeah. But in talking about candy, I found some interesting candy facts. Well, first of all, they say Tootsie Rolls were the first wrapped penny candy in America.
I think they were a lot bigger too.
Oh yeah, they were than what you see now. And Halloween candy sales average about $2 billion each year in the United States. Not surprising.
Yeah, I
Not
wonder if that's
surprising.
actually low.
And believe it or not, chocolate candy bars topped the list of the most popular candy for trick-or-treaters, with Snickers being
You know,
number
I would
one.
have thought Snickers or the peanut butter cups.
Yeah.
Those two, I think they're probably pretty close.
Well, because Snickers, now they have those cheap little things. They're only about like
I
yay
know we
big.
just bought a bag of them to
Yeah,
give
Three
out.
Musketeers
Yeah,
and all
yeah.
those stuff. But Snickers, I guess, is number one.
I don't even think you can call them minis anymore. They're like
No.
micro minis.
Yeah, micros. And Halloween is the second most commercially successful holiday, with Christmas being the first.
I believe it.
especially now. When I was a kid, we really never had much decorations like they
No,
do
that's
now.
changed, too.
Like the orange lights and all that. I mean, that was fun. I mean, you'd had it all for Christmas, but
Yeah.
not for Halloween. So
Yeah.
some things got cool. I mean, you drive around, they got some really creative.
Yeah, I used to do at my house. We had fog machines, we had strobe lights, I had animated figures that would talk and move,
Yeah.
and lights all over the place.
Yeah.
I built a wooden cage. It looked like a metal cage that we put somebody in a werewolf costume. We get kids from all over the neighborhood, and it was fun and it was safe.
And when I was in the seminary, I used to do this thing like take white Kleenex. I used to take a little string, and I used to make ghosts and hang them from the hallway in the seminary. And then we'd take the TV out, and we'd all watch a horror movie.
Yeah.
The priest that was on the hall used to give us some things, food and stuff like that. And I remember watching Salem's Lot. And we were all like,
Well, I think that was your
"Oh."
favorite movie anyway.
Yeah, it was one of them, yeah. But they were all like, and even the fourth year guys, we were first year, the fourth year guys were the deacons, and you saw them like, so it was kind of cool, it was fun. And one time when I was a deacon, actually, and I was in the parish, I had those same ghosts hanging out the window.
Wow.
And so the pastor says, Father Bob, I don't mind you having whatever decorations here, but those ghosts outside the window have to go. And so he very jovially told people that he exorcised my ghosts. So these are some of the ways of celebrating. It's a great, it's a fun.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm looking forward to Halloween this year, and we haven't picked out a movie yet, but we'll have to do that. And with that, actually, we're down to a couple minutes here, so we're going to have to say goodnight. But we will have another show coming up soon, and I think it'll be an enjoyable one with what we've got planned. So, like I said, that's going to do it for this evening. Hope everybody has a happy and safe Halloween. So until next time,
when confronting the darkness,
remember to put on the whole armor of God.
with the sword of St. Michael in your hand.
Until next time,
God bless.
God
Take care.
bless.